Hi, my name is Walter Davis, and I'd like to address the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, but I want to address specifically for the adjunct faculty, the part-timers. This was a program that was implemented in 2007, and so it was for full-time people that work at a qualifying organization. What I want to tell you with the adjuncts actually are considered, a lot of adjuncts are considered full-time for this program. What I mean by that is if you work between 9 and 12 credit hours per semester, they use the conversion factor to say how many hours you work per week. They take into account and they recommend that your school will take into account time that you use for prep, for meeting with the students, for grading papers, all of that. And they use conversion factors. The Department of Education initially has stated that the conversion factor should be 2.5 times whatever your credit hours are. Now, if you teach 12 credits, then you multiply that by 2.5, that comes out to 30 hours per week. And that's what they recommend that your employer will utilize. A lot of employers don't understand that, and they have not been utilizing that. That's okay. Still go ahead and apply, and the Department of Education will actually work with them to utilize the conversion factors that are appropriate. Now, when I say 9 to 12, what has happened is the American Federation of Teachers, I was on a conference call, a webinar with Randy Weingarten, our president of AFT. And she has stated that they have negotiated and been talking with Department of Education, and they said that they're going to implement a conversion factor of 3.35, which means if you teach three credit courses, which is still just 9 credits per semester, you multiply that by 3.35 and you are over the 30 hours per week. And so you will qualify. So most adjuncts will qualify for the loan forgiveness. Now, let me tell you something in terms of what's really going on with this loan forgiveness. This temporary waiver that Biden has put in place has said that if you owe on your student loan, even if you have not paid anything, or if you had been in forbearance or deferment, as long as you were not in default and you were not in school deferment, the payments that were due are now going to be considered as qualifying payments for this loan forgiveness. So basically, what that comes down to is if you owed the student loan and you worked at a qualifying employer, which as instructors, professors, we do, any nonprofit or any government agency. So as professors, we are um, working for qualified employers and are considered full time, which is 30 hours and above. So your school does not have to consider you full time. But if you worked 9 to 12 credit hours, apply. Even though everyone may tell you, no, you're not full time. For the public service loan forgiveness, you are considered full time if you work between 9 and 12 credit hours because they use the conversion factors between 2.5 and 3.35. So this waiver ends October 31st. So you need to go to studentaid.gov, log into your federal student aid account, and use the help tool that they have to fill out the application and consolidate all of your loans. Let the federal government manage them. And they're using a company called Mohila. That's the servicer that you need to have your student loans consolidated under. Now, uh, let me show you a couple things to back up what I actually when I said that if you owe the money, that's considered a qualifying payment, whether you made the payment or not. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you what the federal government actually says about this waiver. So go to studentaid.gov. This is the homepage for studentaid.gov. Go to loan forgiveness and down here, public service loan forgiveness. It'll take you to this page. And it says this limited waiver ends October 31st. So you need to get this video out to everyone you know that has a student loan. First, I'm going to show you why I said if you have payments that are due, those are qualifying payments, even if you didn't make the payment. Let's go down here to limited PSLF waiver announcement. This is the announcement they gave. So let's go to that. Okay, here's what pops up when you hit that additional information. It talks about ways to get loan forgiveness. And let's go down to the key points. With the key points that the public service loan forgiveness summary of changes. Look down here and you can read through these, but it says past periods of repayment will now count whether or not you made a payment. Made that payment on time for the full amount due are on a qualifying repayment plan. Basically saying if you owed it, then it's going to be considered a qualifying payment. So really it comes down to this. Did you make 120 payments, which is 10 years worth of payments? And the qualifying payments now are that the payments were due. So even if you were in forbearance, it says forbearance period of 12 consecutive or greater, or if you have 36 cumulative, will count under the waiver. Even forbearance counts. It says that deferments will count, except for in-school deferment. And the only time that does not count is if you're in a default. This is a revolutionary program that is only available till October 31st. And it's available to full-time professors and teachers, but it's also available to many, many, many adjuncts. If you've worked at least 9 to 12 credit hours, then you are now considered full-time for the purposes of this loan forgiveness. That's not saying that your school has to consider and recognize you as full-time, but they will recognize you as full-time for the purposes of this loan forgiveness. Now, if you go back to loan forgiveness and the public service loan forgiveness, we'll hit that. It's going to show you in terms of what you actually do uh, to actually start the process. Okay, so it brings us back to this screen, and you see here it says log in to start. That's what you would do. You'd log in, and it's going to log you into your federal student aid account. And if you don't have a federal student aid account, then you create one. And through that federal student aid account, you will be able to use the help tool to actually apply for the public service loan forgiveness. It has the application online, and then once you get the information, you actually take the verification form to your employer. They verify your hours, and then you send the first page, which has your signature on it, and the verification form from your employer. You send it into Mohila. It explains all of that in the application once you log into the federal student aid account. And so it's taking its time now. There must be a lot of people on taking advantage of this. And so you can hit login and it will take you to your federal student aid account. Accept it. And then I'm going to do another public service announcement that actually goes through the entire application process, step by step. But it's imperative that you do this within this next week or so because the deadline is October 31st of 2022, unless they give an extension. Okay, so here's the overview, and it tells you in terms of how to get started, and you just hit continue, and it will continue on, and you'll be able to do the application. Okay, and so uh, sometimes you have to be patient with it because, especially a lot of people logging in, it takes sometimes it takes a little bit of time to actually process. First thing you get to is you add in your employers. And so you go in and add an employer, and that's the beginning. And you put the employer's EIN number in, put the approximate dates that you employment start date, employment end date. Doesn't have to be exact because once you fill out the form at the end, you send that to your employer and they will modify it as necessary and just initial it if they had to modify it. And then you search out your employer. Once you see your employer pop up down here, you hit your employer and then you will continue. All right, so the other thing I want to show you for adjuncts, I want to show you some of the verification that our employers should use the modifiers. So what I want to do, I'm going to go here. Here's a letter that the Department of Education actually identified that this could be an issue. So this is called issue paper number 5. This is from the United States Department of Education, Office of Post-Secondary Education. And this is issue paper number 5, Public Service Loan Forgiveness Eligibility. And so they did this back in October of 2021. They identified a few different things and said the department has identified several areas in the regulations governing eligibility issues that can be improved and further streamlined. One of the things that they said here is under this act, employers have flexibility in defining full-time employment by the number of hours an employee works per week. So they have flexibility to do that. This creates different eligibility threshold standards when one employer considers 40 hours a week full time and another employer considers 35 hours a week full time, even though the underlying requirement in the law is at least 30 hours. So that's the first thing that they said may be an individual. And then individual whose pay is based upon academic credit hours or courses taught, such as adjunct professors or contingent faculty, have trouble converting their course load into hours worked per week. Employers may also not know how to do that conversion, making them reluctant to certify employment. This can create a barrier for adjunct professors and similarly situated individuals to make progress toward receiving a discharge. So that's where adjuncts have run into a problem. A lot of our institutions are certifying credit hours, contact hours, not actually hours worked. They have not used the conversion factor. So they have a number of solutions for the things they say, but when they talked about clarifying, one of the solutions they said, clarifying the definition of full-time employment. So first, the department proposes defining full-time as 30 hours for all borrowers, not above 30, but just 30, removing the criterion that set full-time employment at the greater of 30 hours or how the employer defines full-time employment. So just if they have 30 hours, they're full-time for this program, for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Department also proposes to use a credits taught to hours worked conversion factor to help adjunct instructors. The department recommends starting the suggested threshold at 2.5 work hours per credit hour because this aligns the federal student aid definition of full-time for a student, which is 12 credit hours, and the 30-hour work requirement. So The Department of Education, Office of Post-Secondary Education, has already seen this as an issue, a potential issue, and has made recommendations that will use the conversion factor of 2.5. The union has talked to the Department of Education and said that we need to use the conversion factor of 3.35. So that's where 12 credits, you use conversion factor to get up to 30 hours per week worked. 9 credits if you use the 3.35 conversion factor. Whatever it is, you guys definitely apply and let them work out the numbers after the fact. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna have another public service announcement that we're gonna post on YouTube that will go through the application process directly and also the consolidation process. Until then, make sure you pass this around, show everyone that they need to apply. Let them work out all the details after the fact. Have a good one. Peace.